Hey, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about the option to purchase agreement. And this agreement we're going to use instead of the purchase agreement. So let's talk about the scenarios for a minute. You go out and you're driving for dollars and you find a property that you're not sure that you can find an investor that will want it. Maybe the price is a little bit too high. Maybe it's someplace weird like, next to an industrial park or something that's, unattractive. Um, Maybe the property is laid out really strange, or maybe it's just a one bedroom and your buyers typically want, 2 or 3 bedroom properties. So whatever the scenario is, you're not sure that you can find an in buyer. Instead of using the purchase agreement, you would use the option agreement. So just like the purchase agreement, we date the contract for the day that we're signing, and then let's just go through it. This option agreement is entered into between the parties, seller and buyer, below in consideration of and subject to the following terms and conditions. So again, we're going to put your name as the buyer, or if you have a partner, put both your names in there as buyer, and then the legal names of the sellers. So we have Harry and Sally homeowner here. Property address, for the property. Offer: buyer has the option to buy the property at $70,000 for the period of 45 days. Okay, so this isn't a purchase agreement. This is just an option. In the next 45 days, they're going to agree that if you come back to them and say, "Hey, I'm ready to buy," this is what they're selling for. That's $70,000. All right. Now let's scroll down just a little bit. Provisions of this agreement. Seller understands that buyer is acting as a principal in the transaction and is not working as a licensed real estate broker representing anyone in the transaction. All right, so they understand that you're doing this for yourself. You're not doing it for anybody else. Upon buyer's decision to exercise this option, both parties agreed to move forward with the necessary standard purchase and sales agreement, the agreement we just went over. So if you come back and say, "Okay, I'm ready to buy," they're agreeing to go ahead and sign the contract for $70,000 and move forward. Seller may cancel this agreement at any time if they find their own buyer or tenant, or decide not to sell. So they're not agreeing that you're the only one that they'll sell to. They can sell it to somebody else. They can decide to rent it or whatever, but they're agreeing to that price. If you come back to them and they're still willing to sell, they'll sell it at that price. Seller agrees to allow buyer to notify investors/partners that the property is for sale. And I would say this right when I'm having them assign the agreement. This is what I always say. I say, this property doesn't meet my buying criteria because of whatever, because it's too small, because it's, the price is too high or whatever. But I have some partners that might be interested in it. Okay, so do you mind me sending out to the partners? And that's what they're agreeing to, is you sending them out and you notifying other partners that this property is available. If buyer does not exercise their option to buy within 45 days of acceptance of this option agreement, the agreement becomes null and void. So it doesn't run on forever. It gives you 45 days to find somebody. And really, you don't even need 45 days. I mean, you need a week, or you need a few days just to get it out to your cash buyer list and see if anybody has an interest. Okay. Seller agrees to allow buyer access to the property via lockbox provided by the buyer. As I mentioned in the last video with the purchase agreement, sometimes the seller might not agree to that and you might just have to scratch it off. But if they do agree to it, you can put a lockbox on it and let people come look at the property. Personally, I just take a lot of pictures of the property and send the pictures to my buyers list and let them decide, through pictures. And then if I get somebody who wants to move forward, I'll go ahead and do a purchase agreement. All parties agree that the property is being sold as is condition unless noted otherwise. You know, like any wholesale deal, you're buying it as it sits with the junk in it, or in bad condition or whatever. Okay, and that's it. Any other additional comments you want to add to it? But then you just you all sign and date the contract, and that's it. And then the clock starts running, and it gives you some time to go out and find some investors that would be interested in this property. Okay, so that's it for the option agreement. I will see you in the next video.